When a car guy manages the miracle that is having sex, babies are made, and that two-seater sports car is no longer viable. He moves on to his hot hatch, maybe a Golf GTI, then another baby comes round. Still wanting to hold on to a small bit of sanity, he goes for a fast estate. Volvo have pioneered this for years and years with fast T5s and Rs. Moving on from the 90s into the 21st century, Audi and Mercedes make estates with over 600 horsepower that you can take kids to school in. But Volkswagen is a brand that have always gone in and out of a fast estate. And more recently, with the estates, they made a Passat with a 3.6 litre in, 300 horsepower, and such a cool car when you see them drive past. And then moving into 2013-2014, Volkswagen brought out the Mark 7 Golf. At the time, a great car, but not that fancy. But then they came along with the R, a 300 horsepower four-wheel drive turbo monster. And then, 1 or 2 years later, they decided to put that package into an estate. So when you put a couple of mods on these wheels and fettling around with a turbo, does this make the ultimate daily? I mean, is this a car you can drive and have a smile on your face? Does it hit all those boxes? Well, there's only one way to find out, by taking this thing for a drive and answering that question. So this car being the 2016 model is still a Mark 7 before they did the 7.5 facelift. And I've got to say, it looks way better. I mean, that front bumper has to be one of the most aggressive things I've ever seen. And when they pulled out the 7.5, it just looked like a trim level on a 1.2. If I've got one thing to say about how this car looks, I mean, Volkswagen have done something well. The normal person to see this car drive past would think, oh, it's a Volkswagen Golf estate. But a car guy sees this drive past and boom, look at it. And as I mentioned, the car's not standard. Probably the vocal point of the thing is these wheels. OZ Racing Ultralegeras, finished in a beautiful light silver. Absolutely perfect for this car. It came standard with a Cadiz, so the 18-inch ones that most Rs come with. And as any Golf R owner would know, they are a bit fragile, to say the least. Which is why after, I think it was 3 buckles, we finally managed to spend some money and get some good wheels. And with an add-on spoiler and a couple other little bits, this car really does look good. And going back to my point of being a bit understated, the one thing that does give this car away a bit is the 4 exhausts, or shall I say 2. I mean, look, you can see 4 exhaust pipes, but that's not the case. Using a trusty stick, we can find out that, well, that's nothing. That's a back box. That one, even that's fake, because, well, if you look a bit closer, it's an exhaust within an exhaust. So that is one bad thing that Volkswagen has done to their incredible car. And then the engine. Of course, the main point of a Golf R. A 2-litre 16-valve 4-pot that makes 300 brake. I mean, an incredible engine with a massive turbo. Fuel economy is not great, but what can you expect when you put a turbo the size of a dinner plate onto a car? Now, as I mentioned, the car's far from standard. We've got this beautiful Turbo Technics silicone intake and turbo elbow, a full racing line induction kit, and with a remap, this thing's pushing over 400 horsepower. And when you add a resonator delete into the mixture, it sounds incredible. I mean, not many other 4 cylinders can manage to make such a deep grumble. And reliability-wise, you've not got much to say. I mean, it's coming up on 90,000 miles now, but still, it's just standard service items. Some new spark plugs, brakes, and some new coil packs. Other than that, it's been good as gold. And moving on to the interior of the car, you've got everything you can ask for from a modern car. Auto headlights, auto wipers, screens, heated seats, the list goes on. But being from 2016, it's still got that essence of being an old car. Like I mentioned with the 7.5 and the 7, the facelift of the car, it's still got normal dials, which I love because screens on cars need to go away. And adding rarity into the mix, on paper, this is the perfect car. It ticks all boxes. Fast, fun, great to look at, and can drive pretty much anywhere across the world with no problems. Still, does that make this the perfect car? Let's go for a drive and find out. So out to my Golf R estate. Now this car's my dad's, so it didn't take too much to twist his arm and get the car for the day. Even though I do work in an insurance company, getting this thing insured just for a couple hours I'm using it cost me an arm and a leg. So the question is, what's it like? With all that power, it should make quite a fun car. Yeah, it goes pretty good. I mean, this is a car that within about 10 seconds you can have your license took away and held by the police for quite a long time. And it's not like it's a struggle. I mean, the hatches, you could get them with a 6-speed manual, where the Estates exclusively came with a DSG, which, I mean, is a much quicker gearbox, maybe less engaging, but God, it does make it easy to drive. Now, in standard form, a DSG or pretty much any other flappy paddle gearbox may be a bit soulless. I mean, not even allowing you to hit the red line in most cases, which, I mean, it's no good for the engine, but it's quite good fun. And just losing that engageability of having a manual, being able to throw around and dump a clutch. But once this car was took to VRS performance, the touch up to the gearbox and the engine, it's now almost like a semi-manual, allowing you to bang it right off the limiter at 7,500 and giving you loads more freedom when it comes to changing your gears. So when you flick the thing over into a proper manual mode, it allows you to just go wild. And when you get onto a dual carriageway in this thing, it just eats at miles. I mean, Volkswagen will claim 40 mpg. That's not going to happen. Even at your best of times, 30 is going to be a good number. And this car's been all across the UK, even going over to Ireland, and just not missing a beat. It loves it. And I think the fact that this car can eat at miles and still put a smile on your face, it's a great car. But there's just something about it that doesn't make me jump with joy. It doesn't make me smile. It's incredibly fast, the fastest thing I've drove by miles. But would I get in an old school hot hatch and have more fun? Maybe. Like I said, this is my dad's car. He spent years and years with every type of hot hatch you can imagine. And when I asked him a question, do you love this car? The first response wasn't yes, yes, yes. It was, yeah. But when I asked him if he loves his Cooper R, yes. A Mark 1 Cooper R with, 80 horsepower less than this standard front wheel drive, but a 6-speed manual and just something a bit more retro about it. And having 4-wheel drive, it can keep you out of trouble. I mean, it's a Haldex system, so it's basically a front-wheel drive most of the time. But coming out a roundabout, in the wet, allows you to go through. This car is brimmed to the full with all bits of technology. I mean, we've got a race mode, we've got launch control. And speaking of our launch control, this thing has managed sub 4 seconds to 60 miles an hour. I mean, you're doing 0 to 60 in those times with your entire family in the car, a boot full of suitcases, in a Volkswagen Golf. It doesn't make sense. And it does it back to back to back. There's just something about it that you can't quite put your finger on. I mean, car guys can't say exactly why they love cars. It's just something that's in your blood. And I'm not even trying to go into a full debate over manual and automatic. That's not what I'm trying to make the point here. It's just something about the car's soul. I think the fact that it is so great in every way means that it isn't. Having those flaws makes a car a bit better. Car guy's favourite car is normally something a bit Italian, a bit flawed. Or even just sticking with a German car. A Golf R32 from 20 years ago now has most of the features that this thing has, with all its heated seats and auto lights, but has so much more character about it. With an engine that's massive and doesn't make massive power for the size of a thing, it gives it so much more character. And these days, with pretty much everything having a turbocharger and being a 4-cylinder, I mean, take the new C63. The reason you buy a C63 is because it's got a V8, not because it's quick. If you want a quick family car, get an RS6, get an M5. And what Mercedes did was take that characterful V8 from it that made an incredible sound, and they put a 4-cylinder in it. Yes, it's probably faster, but I can't imagine it's going to sell well with that. This car's so impressive. I mean, I'm driving a car that's 1.6 tonnes, and it's an estate, and still it just goes through numbers that you won't believe. But where this car shines is when you whack it over into manual with a bit of sport and then put it into a race mode. That's when it really changes character. The second gear. Yeah, it's a different car in race. God, we hit 70 miles an hour there. Oh, nearly 70. And when you go into race mode, the valves open up on the exhaust and you do get a nice little burble. This thing is jaw-dropping. It's incredible. your fun, whack it over its drive, put it in eco, and go on with your day. This thing is very, very impressive. But do I love it? I don't think I can give an answer for that. Saying no would be a lie, but so would saying yes. I mean, the car can sit there and do donuts in a circle. And if you've got a long enough road with no speed limits like the Autobahn, this thing can see about 170, maybe even more. But yet, half the conversations I have with my dad are talking about old rubbish cars. Cars that are way slower than this and have way more flaws. I mean, you can have almost as much fun in a Yaris T-Sport, which has 100 horsepower, but because the car's got so much more character, you have so much more of a smile on your face. So to answer the question, is this car all the car you need? Is it the perfect daily? Yes and no. For a car guy, you're always going to want something else because it just doesn't hit that spot quite. But for someone who maybe just likes a nice fast car, I can't recommend this car enough. This is a car that's, on paper, probably one of the best out there for your money. Because when you're looking at about 15 grand for one of these now, there's not many other better solutions. And then put another few grand into a thing, and you can wipe smiles off the faces of RS4 drivers. It's a great thing. To round this car up, the Mark 7 Golf R Estate, perfect in every way, but for me at least, and I'm sure a lot of true petrol heads, just doesn't hit that spot. The only way you'll know if you love the thing is by going out and driving one yourself. So I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all in the next one.